Hi guys, and welcome to the channel. Thanks to all the supporters that have subscribed to my channel, and for the new people stopping by, if you like the content, please hit like or subscribe button. So a quick intro about myself and this channel. I have a full-time job, so this channel is done for fun, just on my spare time. I'm not here to make any money off of YouTube, and for me, I just want to share my knowledge and enjoy having discussions with the community. So, I've been gaming since the early 80s, and now that in my adulthood, I pretty much own every home console since then. So my content here is majority around the gaming industry and also the tech field. So, I hope to share my knowledge with the rest of you. And if you find it useful or helpful to achieve whatever career path you guys are pursuing, then great, man, I'm happy for you. So the videos will be based off of data and facts. I'm not gonna I'll definitely have my perspective and my opinion on things, but one of the things I want to give is a business perspective on the tech and the gaming industry. So hopefully you'll find my content and the knowledge that I'm presenting and my perspective pretty beneficial to you. So in this video, we're going to be looking at SSD and the storage space that is being advertised and why the actual size is a lot less. For a lot of the technical people out there like myself who has built PCs in the past, this is a very common practice when buying storage space and configuring it into your operating system of choice, right? So I think this will be a good topic because there's a lot of discussion right now regarding the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X storage capacities on their drives. So let's take a quick look and explain why the storage space is a lot less than what's being advertised. But let's also clear out some misconceptions that are being thrown out there on social media regarding, the operating system and how much it's taking up and how it's taking up more than what it's needed. So let's delve into that right now. So from a SSD manufacturer's standpoint, whether they're making SSD or hard drive, they go by a scale of 1001 in order to make it very easy to simplify the different size capacity. So basically 1 terabyte is 1,000 gigabytes, 1 gigabyte is 1,000 megabytes, and 1 megabyte's 1,000 kilobytes, right? So it goes down to the byte level, right? So they use it from a 1,000 scale, which if you're outside of the US, the metric system, this is a very easy scale to understand and visualize, right, when it comes to storage capacity. But when you talk about attaching these storage devices to an actual operating system, whether it's a PC or a Linux OS, computers read memory a little bit different, and their scale from their perspective is 1024 to 1. So basically, for 1 terabyte, you're going to need 1024 gigabytes, so 1024. And as that goes down incrementally from different levels, it's still a 1024 multiplier, right? So with that, there's a reason why once a hard drive, whether it's an SSD or a regular spinning hard drive, is attached to a machine, the machine's going to read it at a lot less than what's being advertised, from a commercial standpoint, right? So when you take the scale into consideration, and let's look at the Xbox, and this is going to be the same for every 1 terabyte drive out there, whether it's the Xbox SSD or any other SSDs that you guys look into, or even a spinning hard drive that's 1 terabyte. So if you take that and convert it to just 1,000 gigabyte, which is equivalent to 1 terabyte, and then you add those multipliers in to get down to the byte level, then you divide that by the 1024 scale that the computers are going to read, and what you have is when you reconvert that back up, you actually have only 931.32 gigabytes of storage capacity when that thing is attached to the operating system. So definitely a lot less than what's advertised, but it's for again, most of the technical PC guys out there that have built PCs on their own, this is a very common practice when setting up a hard drive on the operating system. So something that I kind of want to elaborate on and show you guys some examples
Now let's look at the PlayStation 5 and its internal SSD at 825 gigabyte, right? So if you take the same multiplying factor and then you divide it by what the actual system's going to read it at, instead of the 825, it's actually only seeing 768.34 gigabytes of storage capacity from the internal drive as usable space for operating system for any other operations it needs to do. So this is definitely a lot less than what's advertised, right? So let's now look at the comparisons, right? So when you look at the Xbox and the actual capacity that the operating system is going to read off of that 1 terabyte internal SSD, there's been a lot of reports and rumors with a lot of people that have pre-production units or early units that there's about 802 gigabytes of space available, right? So if you take that 802 and you actually divide it into the actual actual size that the Xbox sees, what you're going to find is that there's actually 86% of the SSD that is not used. So that means the operating system and whatever space Microsoft has reserved for quick resume to save a lot of those save states is less than 15% of the capacity of the drive that's being read. So when you get news outlets reporting that there's only 80% left and that the operating system takes 20%, that's really not true. It's a lot less than that, So when you divide and when you subtract that into what's really available, then we can kind of estimate that about 129 gigabytes for the OS, right? And again, I think it's a little bit bigger than normal because they are, accounting for that, the save states for the quick resume. So if you think about it, the amount of RAM that's available when a game boots up, all that information in RAM, Microsoft is basically taking a snapshot or a clone of that. So the Xbox and the PlayStation 5 has about 16 gigabytes of RAM, but that's all reserved for there's some for the operating system to use and then some for actual in-game. So let's say it's roughly about 14 to 13 gigabytes that is being used by the game. So if you think about that and how many save states you can take, you can see why the Xbox has about 130 gigabytes reserved for not only the OS but for the save states and the quick resume, right? So depending upon the game that you're putting into quick resume, you might be limited to anywhere between 4 to 5 games, or if they're smaller games that doesn't take up too much RAM usage on the system, you might be able to hold more. That's why you're seeing a lot of early reviewers stating that they're able to go up to 8 and even 10 games on quick resume. So it all depends on the type of games, right? So now we go over to the PlayStation 5, where again, the PlayStation 5 is reading that 825 at 768.34 gigabytes of space. And based on some of the leaks that have been reported, they're saying that there's only about 664 gigabytes of space left. So if you subtract that, from what the PlayStation 5 is reading, you're basically estimating that the OS takes up about 104 gigabytes. And again, it's approximately 86% of the SSD is still free. So again, Microsoft and Sony, they're hitting very similar targets when it comes to utilizing under 15% of the actual SSD size for the operating system. Now, on the PlayStation 5, we don't know too much about it yet, so we don't know if they have a similar quick resume or save state like Microsoft. But again, I just want to clarify a lot of the misinformation out there, on the web, talking about how each of the systems are taking up a lot of space. But if you really think about it in the context of what the systems are reading as actual space to utilize, they're both on par. They're both really about the same in terms of utilizing under 15%. They're right about 14% right now of space on the SSD that's being reserved for the OS and other functions of the OS, right? So with that, what do you do with next gen, right? So here's some of my advice when it comes to next gen. I think, it's going to take a while. I mean, you have to be the type of person that wants every single game on your hard drive, booting it up even when you're not playing it. I really think the best advice right now, based on the storage price and the value of storage, that you're probably better off going with an external solution. And now the external solutions, you're able to find some really good SSD whether it's the SATA versions of the SSD drives or it's the NVMe that are now packaged in a commercial package with USB-C support, or if you buy your own DIY case and put an NVMe drive in there, right? So one of the things is, doesn't really matter if you go to the DIY route and you put in a fast drive in there, you're still bottlenecked by the USB. So both the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X uses USB 3.1 Gen 2. So it's going to give you up to 10 gigabits. Now it's gigabits, not gigabytes. Gigabits, per second speed. So because of that, that's going to be your bottleneck there. But that should still be fast if you utilize the full speed of that lane on the USB 3.1 to basically write information from your internal drive or straight from the internet when you're downloading it, have it archived into the external drive. Now the great thing about this is that read speeds are always sometimes often quicker than write speeds. So once you have it stored in your external drive, when you want to move it back to your internal drive, you're probably going to get faster speeds going that way than going the other way, where you're moving from internal to external, just because the write speeds are not going to be as fast, But the read speeds are going to allow the internal system and the internal drive to read at a much faster pace, and that's why you'll get faster transfer speeds. And if you don't believe me, wait until Digital Foundry or other news outlets start to run their own tests. It's going to vary. And really, it's going to come down to the USB controller that's on the hard drive. So if you're going to do a DIY type of a case, definitely look into the interface and what type of USB you support. For me, I can't wait until the systems come out. I have both on pre-order. So when I receive them, I will definitely test some of the drives that I have and some of the cases that I have. And it'll be interesting to see what type of benchmarks I'm going to get. And I think because there's so many variety of drives out there, it's going to be a mixed bag, but at least I'm going to try to use some very common ones. I have a SanDisk NVMe USB-C drive that I use for work. That's a 1 terabyte, and it reads and writes at about 500 megabytes. So the throughput speed is going to be roughly about 4 gigabits. So we'll see how fast that runs on it. I'm currently using that particular drive and testing it on my Xbox One X and my PlayStation 4. But I also have an NVMe, the new Samsung 980 Pro, which is equivalent to, or at least it meets more than the speeds of the PlayStation 5. So I'm definitely going to be testing that out on my PlayStation 5 just to see some benchmarks and whether or not it gets hot or not, because that's one of my worried with the particular NVMe slot on the PlayStation 5 is, it doesn't seem like there's enough room for heat dissipation. And even though I know these SSDs are designed to run either with a heatsink or without a heatsink, it still builds up heat because it's super fast and it's going to be super hot, right? So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of heat dissipation we get from the expansion slot on the PlayStation 5. For the Series X, because they're using a proprietary, you can look at the engineering. They actually have springs on the inside of the case that when you slide that particular card in, it actually makes contact. So it's already part of a bigger over cooling solution that's inside the Series X, because everybody knows the SSD is going to run super hot. You don't want to touch that SSD when you pop that card out or the drive out from a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox and touch it with your bare hand. It's going to be super hot. You want it, on a code boot or not even code boot, when shutting your system down and letting it cool for a while before you actually, touch the SSD, right? So, let me know if you guys like this video and the content that I went over. Like I said, I think a lot of people don't know how this all works, but I just want to kind of clear the air on this. If you have any comments, put it down, and I'll definitely answer them. And if you have any questions, same thing. Let me know if you like these type of videos. And if you're new here, again, subscribe and help me build the channel. Like I said, I'm not here to really make money on YouTube. This is just some extra fun times that I do outside of my work, just to talk games, talk technology, and just share my thoughts. And I don't have sides or flags that I'm waving. I'm a gamer at heart, and I have all the platforms to play games on, right? So whatever platform you want to play games on, I hope that you enjoy that. And you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you guys later. Take care.